Hello guys, how are you? My name is Priya Pandya, and I'm here to take your editorial analysis of critical reasoning. So this is a very heavily concept-driven area, and but even editorial analysis is going to help you out over here because when the passages come, जब पैसेजेस आते हैं तो सबसे ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम यही होती है उन्हें डिकोड करना, उन्हें कॉम्प्रीहेंड करना, बिकॉज जो क्वेश्चंस आपके सामने आते हैं, अगर आपकी पैसेज की अंडरस्टैंडिंग में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है तो ऑटोमेटिकली यू कैन सी दैट, यू कैन फील इट कि क्वेश्चंस जो है आपके ठीक नहीं जाएंगे। एंड पर्सनली जो है एडिटोरियल एनालिसिस के साथ जो है विल बी शेयरिंग कि पर्पस क्या है ऑथर का लिखने का, विल बी शेयरिंग कि मेन आइडिया यहाँ पर क्या होता है, ठीक है। और बेस्ड ऑन दैट जो आज मैं आपके सामने सीरीज शुरू करी हूँ उसमें थोड़ा सा मैंने अजम्पशन को भी टच किया है। एंड उसी से रिलेटेड एक क्वेश्चन जो है आपके सामने मैं रखूंगी, ठीक है। इसका पर्पस ये है कि हम सिर्फ वहां तक स्टिक ऑन ना करें कि हमने एडिटोरियल एनालिसिस कर लिया, but we move forward and we move forward into understanding how to take out the main idea and taking out the assumption behind it. Okay, so first of all, let's start off with today's session, which is okay. Just give me a minute. Okay, yeah. So here we are. So the editorial analysis, let's understand the purpose. First of all, हम थोड़ा सा purpose को समझते हैं कि हम ये क्यों कर रहे हैं। तो हमारा जो मेन आइडिया है वो इनहांस द फोकस है। नाउ ये प्रॉब्लम है जो मैंने बहुत देखा है स्टूडेंट्स में, और वो ये है कि जो आपके सामने पैसेजेस आते हैं, मिडवे समवेयर डिस्ट्रैक्शन शुरू हो जाता है। उसका मेन रीजन आज की तारीख में सोशल मीडिया है। सोशल मीडिया इज प्लेइंग a big role over here because we are so used to scrolling fast and our brain is used to taking absorbing information by the by the seconds. And so what is happening is that the brain kind of wants something new constantly, and hence when you have the similar type of pattern, the brain refuses to accept. So this is also training the brain basically means when you read the passage, I'm going to be telling you how to go about it, so it will help you in enhancing the focus so that you don't get distracted. Second is better comprehension of the passage. As all of you know, the reason for editorial analysis from CR's perspective is to improve a comprehension, understanding of the passage so that one can actually crack the questions. Now, better access to cracking the question, as I said, a broader perspective on current issues. Yes, definitely, whatever that is happening around you, you do get an idea around that. So it's not just about CR, from the particular passage, one can also be figuring out what is the current issues, what are the things that are happening around us. Also applying critical thinking even while reading the passage. Now, once you start doing this particular exercise of editorial analysis and how we are going to crack down, how to go about it, it will definitely, even while reading the passage, somewhere you will start making your own main ideas, you will start making your own assumptions, and you will start, you will apply the critical thinking even before you crack the questions. Okay, so that's the main purpose that we are starting off with our editorial analysis. Of course, it has been going on there. For me, it's the first time. So let's start off with today's editorial, which is here. So let's read. This is particular the Olympics that is going on in Paris, and related to that, the author has picked up the concept of ageism, right? And she's talking about why the older athletes, they are paving way as inspirations to the younger generation, and why we need them. So let's understand of all the pointless cliches, the one about age being a mere number might just be the most trite. Okay, so what the author is saying from here is that this is one of the most pointless, useless cliches, that age is just a number, because it doesn't happen in sports, especially because ageism is an inequity hardwired in the human DNA. Its specter sauntering into conversations and commentaries unbidden and undeterred by the wisdom experience might have wrought or the accomplishments that practice would have garnered. So through this, what the author is trying to say is that ageism is kind of a discrimination against the older people in certain professions and stuff like, and even in general. So it is so hardwired, the mindset is so ingrained in human beings that it keeps on coming in conversations, whether we like it or not. And so there is this specter means a ghost, that is kind of haunting us, especially when we look around us and in when we talk about it in terms of all kind of professions that are there. So this is something now which is there. The mindset is already there. Now it says at the Olympics, Diana Taurasi, 42, member of the US women's basketball team, put a finger on it when question about her retirement came up. 20 years experience is an Achilles heel. Instead of something that is treasured and used as a way forward, hopefully we can change that narrative. So Achilles heel is a vulnerable area. I mean, Achilles, if you read the Greek mythology, he was a warrior and he was given जैसे कहते हैं ना blessing of कि वरदान उसको मिला था कि आपको वो immortal बना दिया गया था, उसकी मदर ने उसको रिवर में डिप किया था, बट जहां से पकड़ा था नीचे ऊपर से नीचे, तो वहां पर वो इतना हिस्सा जो है वहां इट सेड कि दैट इज अराउंड द हील, वहां वाटर नहीं टच कर पाया था, तो वो उसका एक वल्नरेबल पॉइंट था जहां पे अल्टीमेटली जब उसकी डेथ हुई तो वो वहीं पे हुई थी, उसी एरिया पे उसको एरो लगा था एंड सो फोर्थ. So what it's saying is that today even age is like in a very vulnerable area. That is what she's talking about, and she says in future that narrative could be changed. Now Tarasi is giving it a good shot, but she is not the only one giving experience its moment in the spotlight at the world's most wanted sporting event are a bunch of men and women at ease with their years and their talent. Luxembourg's Naizia Lien 61, the oldest table tennis player at the event, might have lost to world number one Sun Zingsha, 38 years her junior, but her return to competitive sports serves as an inspiration to the former Chinese compatriot Zheng to take up the game again. Now, Chilean resident Zheng debuted in the Olympics at 58 this year. There's also Spain's Juan Antonio Jimenez Cobo, a silver medalist at the 2004 Athens Olympics, vying for another medal in wrestling at 65. Right. So these are some of the examples the author is taking about the sports athletes who at a certain age are making a comeback. So now it is heartening to watch the quiet confidence of these athletes. Given the premium placed on youth in sports, there is, of course, a case to be made for fitness in professional games. But one of the best kept secrets of age is that which youth aspires to. This is equanimity. Equanimity is balance of temperament. After all, age is the domain of the Pollyannish, with its awareness that in the end, after a lifetime of trying to fit in, everything and nothing matters. It is enough to have arrived at the party and to have had a ball. As the novelist Margaret Atwood once said, for years I wanted to be older and now I am, ageism be damned. Okay. So basically, this is a topic which is slightly different from the genre that we usually pick up, which is related to geopolitics, which is related to economics. The reason that I picked up sports is because of the current scenario that is going on. Plus, थोड़ा सा हटके एक टॉपिक पे हम बात करें, उसके भी हमें जो मेन पॉइंट्स हैं और स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट्स है उसको हमें लेना है, राइट. सो नाउ let's move on to now what we need to understand is guys, पहले तो सबसे पहले देखिए जब आप पैसेज पढ़ते हैं, और ये एक एक्टिविटी है जो मैं चाहती हूँ कि आप लोग करें जब भी आप एडिटोरियल एनालिसिस करते हैं. ये एक एक्टिविटी आपके लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि ये सेग्रीगेट करना प्रीमाइस और ऑथर के आर्ग्यूमेंट के लिए बहुत जरूरी है. Now look at this particular in red. Red symbolizes that I have separated the authors. यहाँ पर मैंने ऑथर के आर्ग्यूमेंट को सेपरेट किया हुआ है, ठीक है. एंड दिस प्लेज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट रोल बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली ऑथर आप तक कोई मैसेज पहुंचाना चाहता है. जब भी वो एक एडिटोरियल लिखता है तो वो अपने लिए तो नहीं लिख रहा, वो रीडर्स के लिए लिखता है या गवर्नमेंट के लिए लिखता है. वो चाहता है आप अवेयर हो जाएं और व्हाट इज हैपनिंग अराउंड. ओके, सो जब हम बात करते हैं कि वो अवेयर हो जाए व्हाट इज हैपनिंग अराउंड, ऑटोमेटिकली ही पुट्स अप हिज पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. सो जब हम एक पर्टिकुलर कंक्लूजन तक पहुंचना चाहते हैं तो बेसिकली अगर हम ध्यान दें तो वो यही बात कहना चाह रहा है इन द पैसेज. जब कंक्लूजन आपका होता है या तो वो बिगिनिंग में होता है या वो टुवर्ड्स एंड में होता है. अब वो यही बात करने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि एजिज्म जो है वो काफी प्रेवलेंट है स्पोर्ट्स में, और खासकर अगर हम देखें, बट कुछ लोग हैं जो इस बैरियर को ब्रेक कर रहे हैं थ्रू एन एग्जांपल्स दे रहा है. ठीक है, ही इज गिविंग द एग्जांपल्स ओवर हियर. And through this, he says, the younger generation perhaps would take it as an inspiration, and the narratives would be changed. So here, if you look at it, you have to immediately highlight the author's argument, because that has to be the final point of view that you will put in the main idea too. ओके, सो मेजर यहाँ का प्रिमाइस अगर हम ले तो वो ओलंपिक्स हो रहा है, पेरिस का जो ओलंपिक्स है उससे शुरू हो रहा है, एंड फिर अल्टीमेटली वो कुछ एथलीट्स, ओल्डर एथलीट्स के एग्जांपल लेकर के एक पॉइंट रखना चाह रहा है। तो वो क्या पॉइंट रखना चाह रहा है, बेसिकली वो यहाँ पे बात हुई है। ठीक है, सो एज आई सेड हम उसको अलग करेंगे। एज यू कैन सी ओवर हियर, the author's arguments have been separated so that you know what the author is ultimately trying to build and what conclusion is he ultimately coming to. Okay, so now moving on, let's understand. Again, as I said, this is particular argument of it is a continuation, so this is the argument in red. Now, there is particular word that comes here. Pollyannish is a person who is constantly or excessively optimistic, right? Just given you a meaning of the word so that it is easier for us to understand the passage. Of course, in a passage, vocabulary plays an important role, as I have already mentioned. But what happens is, let me show you something like, if you were to, kind of isolate a particular word and keep looking at them in dictionary, imagine what would happen, that you will get bored. So most of the time, you should try to figure out the word in the context of the passage itself, right? Only when you find that this particular word is not even making sense contextually, should you go for referral. Okay. Anyways, moving on now from here, we are going to be moving on to breaking down the passage into points. This is very important, guys, and I want everyone sitting over here watching this kindly doing this, because now why we are doing it. Now, breaking it down into points, what it does is that it helps you to focus a lot. And today I find, and please note it down, please write it down, because this is a painstaking exercise to begin with. इन द बिगिनिंग आपको 1 घंटा लग सकता है कि आप ये पॉइंट जो है आप इस तरह से करें, बट ये इतना इम्पैक्टफुल है कि मैं आपको बता नहीं सकती हूँ। इम्पैक्टफुल इस तरह से है कि आपका जो हमें जो आदत छूट गई है लिखने की, एंड दिस इज वेयर वी आर सफरिंग। सो ब्रेन जो है जब लिखते हैं हम, तो पूरा का पूरा फोकस होता है ऑन व्हाट द ऑथर इज सेइंग, एंड ऑटोमेटिकली द रिटेंशन इनहैंसेस, वो बढ़ जाती है आपकी। So let's look at it. If we break it down, if we break down the passage into points, the first is the mindset about ageism. The author is talking about the idea that age is just a number, is seen as a cliche. Ageism is deeply ingrained in human society, affecting perceptions despite wisdom and accomplishments. Okay. Now, second point is Diana Taurasi's view. At 42, Diana Taurasi, a member of the US women's basketball team, highlights how her 20 years of experience are often viewed as a ड्रॉबैक रादर देन एन एसेट। नाउ आई वांट, आप बोलेंगे मैम की पॉइंट्स हम क्यों नहीं लिख रहे हैं, यहाँ पे हम सारे के सारे पॉइंट्स को लिख रहे हैं। वो सिंपल रीजन है क्योंकि आपको नहीं पता कि क्वेश्चन कहाँ से आ सकता है, तो आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग तो है वो पूरे पैसेज को लेकर के चलनी है। Now, athletes defying ageism, or several older athletes challenging ageism at the Olympics. So you have me, Zia Lian, Xing Yang Zhang, and Juan Antonio Jimenez Cobo. ये अगर आप देखें तो competing in dressage and aiming for another medal. So ये particular जो examples author ने लिए हैं उसको भी आप break down करिए, क्योंकि क्या मालूम किस पे related आपको question आ सकता है। ठीक है? Now moving on to value of experience in sports. Okay, so value of experience in sports is also something that you can take up. वैल्यू ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस इन स्पोर्ट्स, ये आपका ऑथर का जो आर्ग्यूमेंट है उसको इस तरह से प्रेजेंट किया गया है। दीज एथलीट्स डेमोन्स्ट्रेट कॉन्फिडेंस एंड टैलेंट, countering the youth centering focus in sports. Fitness is crucial, but age brings equanimity, a desirable trait. So you can see over here, this is a given which is very important, which is part of your argument. Now, acceptance of aging, that's what the author is basically talking about. The passage emphasizes embracing age, right? Quoting Margaret Atwood, who expressed a positive view of growing older and rejecting ageism. Now, subject matter, let's take a broad eye view. कई बार आपके सामने कई इकोनॉमिक्स का पैसेज आता है, जियोपॉलिटिक्स का पैसेज आता है, एंड स्टूडेंट्स से मैम हमें ये टर्म नहीं पता, हमें ये नहीं पता, हमें वो नहीं पता, बहुत सारी चीजें नई नई आती हैं, सब्जेक्ट मैटर्स आते हैं, टॉपिक्स आते हैं। ठीक है। अब देखिए, मैं भी आपको यही कहना चाहती हूँ कि जब इस तरह का पैसेज आता है या कोई भी इकोनॉमिक्स या जियो पॉलिटिक्स या हम इवन अगर हम ओलंपिक्स ले या हम स्पोर्ट्स ले कुछ भी ले, तो हर टर्मिनोलॉजी हमें पता नहीं हो सकती है। हाउ मच विल यू क्लटर योर माइंड विद? ओके, आपने थोड़ा सा मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स के बारे में पढ़ लिया सो दैट यू नो एग्जैक्टली व्हाट जीडीपी एंड अदर थिंग्स आर, but that is not the end to economics. So you need to have a bird's eye view, meaning कि आप एडिटोरियल को एक फुल, बिफोर यू इवन गो टू द निटी ग्रिटीज, आपको एक जनरल व्यू लेना चाहिए। बर्ड्स आई व्यू का मतलब होता है एक जनरल व्यू लीजिए, इससे आपको टोन पता चलेगी, वेदर द टोन इज नेगेटिव, पॉजिटिव, कंसर्न, अलार्मिंग, इस तरह से आप थोड़ा सा एक आइडिया लेते हैं, वाइब लेते हैं। ठीक है, उसके बाद आप देखते हैं कि सब्जेक्ट मैटर किस बारे में, एज यू कैन सी वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ एजिज्म इन स्पोर्ट्स। Okay, so that is the basic thing, especially we are talking about the Paris Olympics here. Now, यहाँ पे सब्जेक्ट मैटर हम देखें, चैलेंजिंग एजिज्म इन स्पोर्ट्स, ये बेसिकली बात करी गई है कि बहुत सारे जो एथलीट्स, जो ओल्डर एथलीट्स आके उन्होंने पार्टिसिपेट किया है, सो इन अ वे दे हैव चैलेंजिंग एजिज्म इन स्पोर्ट्स। Now, definition of ageism is prejudice or discrimination on the grounds of a person's age, that is ageism. Okay, so here this is basically an understanding of the passage. Now, moving on to purpose of the author. Now this is very important that we figure out, क्योंकि क्या होता है कि अल्टीमेटली ऑथर कहना क्या चाहता है, उसके पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू तक पहुंचने के लिए ये तो जानना पड़ेगा ना वो लिख क्यों रहा है, व्हाट इज द मैसेज दैट इज बीइंग कन्वेड। मैक्सिमम क्या होता है कि हम एडिटोरियल्स पढ़ते हैं, आर्टिकल्स या हम पैसेज पढ़ते हैं, तो हमारे साथ प्रॉब्लम क्या होती है, that we are unable, guys, to figure out what the author wants to communicate. Rather, we start inferring what the author wants to say. I would say that please understand, do not start with inferences. What have I understood from the passage? No. Immediately move on to what the author wants to communicate. वो क्या कह रहा है उस पे फोकस करिए, ठीक है? Align your thought process with that of the authors. So the purpose of the author here is to highlight and challenge the prevalent ageism against sports athletes who continue to excel and inspire despite societal biases against age. Okay, so basically, if you look at it, this is what he wants to highlight, right? To highlight and challenge the prevalent ageism against sports athletes who continue to excel and inspire despite societal biases against age. So that is the purpose that the author wants to put in through the put across through the passage. Now let's look at the main idea. The passage highlights prevalent mindset of ageism, particularly in sports, and how the older athletes are breaking the barrier by participating in the present Olympics and showcasing their talent and experience, thereby challenging the notion of ageism. So, this is the main idea or the crux of the matter, right? Now, let's understand once the main idea is up, okay, so then it is so easy for us for to take out the assumption, to take out the conclusion, even to strengthen and weaken, because कहीं ना कहीं हमारा अगर मेन आइडिया हमारे सामने आ जाता है, तो फिर हम ना स्लोली स्लोली उसको बिल्डअप करने लगते हैं, की फैक्टर्स उठाने लगते हैं, and that is where it's going to play a role. Now, remember, assumption, everybody knows, or it's a hidden premise, it is the basis of an argument. Everybody knows about that by now. You know what assumption is. It is part of an argument which forms the conclusion, right? So, behind every action or remark of ours lies an assumption, right? Like, for example, if I have written it in English and if I'm speaking to you in English, what have I assumed? What is that? That you can understand English. So, that is the basic assumption. Similarly, that is something which has been not said, something that I take for granted, assuming that you know. Okay, so assumption plays a very important role in all our actions and our remarks. So let's understand, we take out the assumption here. Remember that all the premises that led to the author's conclusion would carry an assumption. Now, when we have a passage, there are multiple premises leading to conclusions. Now, there is one main premise, then there is one main conclusion. Main conclusion means author's primary argument, right, which he wants to put up. Now, in between there is also the main assumption, because that main assumption would form the main conclusion. But sometimes what happens is, since it's a passage and there are multiple premises that the author puts and comes to sub conclusions. Okay, sub conclusions basically, or these are called as subset conclusions. They help us in building, let's say, they're also part of the passage. They're very much part of the passage. And they also are instrumental, because कई बार क्या होता है कि author जो है आपको एक स्मॉलर assumption आपके सामने रख देता है, सबसेट assumption आपके सामने रख देता है, So that could be pertaining to a particular argument. Okay. So in any case, so what I'm trying to say is that there can be multiple assumptions in a passage along with the main assumption. That is what you have to keep in mind. Okay. So guys, वन लाइन assumptions, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने मेन आइडिया रख दिया आपके सामने, स्टार्ट बाय मेकिंग स्मॉलर assumptions. ये आप एक एक्सरसाइज है जो आप भी कर सकते हैं, बहुत बड़ी चीज नहीं है. आपको लगेगा ये क्या मैम, हाउ कैन वी डू इट, बट द मोमेंट यू हैव द मेन आइडिया आउट, इमेजिन यू रियली कैन डू यू वंडर्स. ओके, आप खुद भी अपने आप को ऑथर की तरह सोच करके assumption निकाल सकते हैं. अब जैसे मैंने ये मेन आइडिया रखा है, द पैसेज हाईलाइट्स prevalent mindset of ageism, particularly in sports, and how the older athletes are breaking the barrier by participating in the present Olympics and showcasing their talent and experience, thereby challenging the notion of ageism. Now, let's look at the first one. अब यहाँ पे ये assumption पहला निकला, ageism is prevalent in sports. नेचुरल है, अगर ये इसको नेगेट कर दें, assumption को नेगेट कर दें, तो पूरा का पूरा मेरा जो कंक्लूजन है वो खत्म हो जाएगा. Second, Olympics allows older athletes to participate. This is important because examples of older athletes participating in Olympics is there. So this has to be true. This has to be true for the conclusion to be true. Now, older athletes have talent and experience has been mentioned, and that is why the narratives need to change. Is what author is saying. That why should we let the older athletes participate in Olympics is because they're bringing with them the talent and the experience that will act as an inspiration to the younger athletes. Okay, so these three are very simple assumptions that even you can take out. Okay, once this is out, these are like multiple assumptions we can take out from a passage itself. Now, let's come to the main assumption here. If you look at the main assumption, ageism is a pervasive and unjust bias that undervalues the experience and capabilities of older individualism, particularly in sports. Now, this is the main assumption, and इसको अगर आप negate करेंगे तो पूरा का पूरा author का जो argument है वो खत्म हो जाएगा. Right? Now, let's take this particular question. इस तरह का मैंने एक question बनाया है जिसमें you have to choose which is the correct answer. So read it and come to the particular answer. I'm just giving you 2 minutes. Okay. So based on the passage, which of the following best reflects the author's underlying assumption about the impact of age on athletes' performance and public perception? Okay. Now here, let's look at this. Which one would you choose? Which would be the answers? Perhaps let's look at like this. The confusion would be between B and D, right? And age often limits athletes' physical abilities, reducing their competitive edge compared to younger counterparts. Now, this is going in the negative. The author talks about positive role of age. So this definitely is not the assumption. This is contrary to the arguments presented in the passage. So we're going to be ruling it out. Now let's look at the B one. The wisdom and equanimity gained with age is undervalued in sports, overshadowing the true potential of experienced athletes. Now, this definitely is the core behind the entire argument. The author definitely brings in that why older, the athletes need to participate is simply because they bring in the experience and the wisdom, and it is usually undervalued in sports and overshadowing the true potential of experienced athletes. That's why he's talking about ageism. Now look at the C1. Youthful athletes are more adaptable to changes in sports techniques leading to superior performance. This is contrary to what is given in the passage. Remember, we are not talking about the youthful athletes in any case. The full focus, the main issue is older, athletes participating in, sports, especially Olympics here, we're mentioning it. And what do they bring with them and why we need to change the narrative. So this particular option definitely is ruled out. Now let's look at the D1. Public perception generally favors youth over experience, regardless of the actual skill of older athletes. Now, guys, this is true. Okay, while this is true, this is a narrower assumption. This is just one part of the argument, right? And here we are also talking about impact of age on athletes' performance. So this only takes into consideration the public perception, which is narrow in focus. But if you look at the B1, it takes both. Okay, what is that impact of age on athletes' performance? इसको भी उसने cater किया है. along with यहाँ पर वो undervalued in sports जो है public perception, overshadowing the true potential, ये public perception को भी लेकर के चल रहा है. तो अगर हम देखें, if I had to choose between B and D, which is a better assumption, which is kind of covering up the entire argument of the author, would be B. Okay, so I hope you got how to, especially in CR, how to crack the editorial analysis. It's not just about understanding the passage and what is given over here, but through the purpose and the main idea, you can actually make changes here. You can actually help to understand and kind of build yourself up in critical reasoning questions. So this editorial analysis was not just about just editorial. It was also how to move forward, taking that editorial and building it into your question forms and how you would crack it. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Having a nice meeting you, nice talking to you, and I'll meet you again. Thank you.